Christina Ekiaji. I'm the CEO of Crystal Agricultural Ventures. I'm a medical practitioner. I live in Old Damai, Ashanti Mampo, in Ashanti region.
Food security and food supply must be at the topmost agenda of every breathing human being on earth. Once your survival depends on food, then it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, an engineer, a nurse, a teacher, or a medical practitioner like Christiana. You have a role to play to ensure sustainable food supply.
Even though as a medical practitioner, I am interested in farming. That's why in 2009, I and my husband started cassava farming with one plot with the mind of producing gari for our own personal consumption. But then, after processing the gari of one plot, it was so much that we had to alert people to come and buy. After that, people continue to come, demanding for the gari. So we continue buying people's farm to the extent that we started grating the gari ourselves and selling to in supermarket, selling to Ejura, selling to people in Old Damai, Ashanti Mampo. We started taking into Burkina Faso, Togo, and Nigeria. Then 2012, we added some additives like coconut fortification to the gari. So we have what we call coconut gari mix, soya beans gari mix, and also margarine gari mix, which is also registered with FDA.
Apart from cassava's known use for making gari, cassava is also an excellent gluten, grain, and nut-free alternative for bakery products. This is why the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, advocates that breads, cakes, pies, donuts, and other bakery products can be made using cassava flour.
CSIR know that Crystal Agricultural Ventures, we are into cassava growing and we also process it, but then into gari. I employed them to come and teach us on further things we can use cassava for. So they taught us on how to produce cassava flour and how to further produce the cassava flour into other things. Bread is one of the things they told us we can use cassava flour for. The cheese, the chin-chins, spring rolls.
In 2019, 22 million tons of cassava were produced in Ghana, making Ghana the second largest producer in Africa and amounting to 5.5% of the world's total production. Within the same year, Ghana imported 760,000 to 770,000 metric tons of wheat, which is processed into wheat flour, a major ingredient in bakery products. The CSIR, however, believes cassava flour, a part of the alternative flours baking project, if well embraced by the Ghanaian bread and other pastry consumers, would facilitate the absorption of the national surplus of roots and tubers, generate income for farmers, reduce the importation of wheat, and subsequently lessen the pressure on the cedi.
The cassava bread or cassava flour has its own unique taste. The cassava itself has its own flavor. This is what I have personally discovered. It adds a little bit weight to the bread. It makes it more bigger, and it is sweet. And it is so soft, as you can see it. It's soft, you know. It's not hard, and also it is cheaper. One, in production and in cost. You can get it as much as you want because we grow cassava in Ghana.
With the rising cost of production in bakery, an alternative cassava flour will not only reduce the price of bread and other pastries to consumers, but also maximize profits of cassava farmers and improve Ghana's gross domestic product index.
The one I started the bread, I started with the blue paint rubber, about 3.4 kilo of flour. After about 2 weeks, then I proceed to times 5 of that 3.4. But now I'm doing 50 kilos every day, just within 3 months. If I send out load of about 140 loaves of this bread. One like the 140. Within 2 hours, I finished distributing it.
Introducing bread and pastries made from cassava flour to a market that has acquired taste for wheat flour bread and pastries will take a lot of persistence. But if Crystal is making inroads with this target, then it is very possible.
When we started, it was not easy. Sometimes we will send it there, then we'll still bring them back.
I wanted people to know that cassava can be used for pastries, not only wheat. So their reaction first of all is that I don't like it is cassava. But I further, if I go to your store the first day you didn't accept me, I will still go and go.
So I had to break some for them to eat it, for them to taste it and see how it is.
But when they taste it, they see that it is good. Then cassava brodonaba.
The market has started opening gradually. Now people are beginning to like it. They are spreading our name.
At Insuta, at Masanti Mampo, at Zongo, you see, at Imprim.
Cassava bread naba. Edo.
People that are producing cake from the north, from Accra, they order from a cassava flour. They do spring rolls, they do bread. Yes, they've been requesting from a cassava flour.
And ours is bigger in the market as at now.
This is the cake we just baked from cassava flour this morning, which is very tasty and nice. This is another cake. We just got it done from cassava flour. You can see this is crystal cassava bread. This is sugar bread we made from cassava flour. And this is butter bread we also made from cassava flour. It's crystal cassava bread. Crystal cassava chips. It's made from cassava flour. Very tasty and nice. This is also crystal cassava chin. It's also made from cassava flour. Very tasty and nice, crunchy. These are the chips and the cookies. So you can see they are all unique products, all from cassava flour. And it's very nice. Some of them, some additives are added, maybe coconut, some, most of them milk and sugar, eggs and those things. And so it's just like normal pastry, where that we use cassava flour. Also, this is the rare cassava flour itself. It's so white, neat and smooth. This is the 2 kilos cassava flour. We have products like Banku mix that we made from cassava. The rare coconte itself, that one we made from cassava, and it is packaged. We also have the fufu itself, crystal cassava fufu, which is also good from our products, cassava tuber. We also have starch that we made from cassava. Then we have our fortified gari. Like I said before, gari fortified with coconut in smaller sachets for children to consume from 6 months. It is with milk and sugar. All you need is just water to add to it. We also have the crystal margarine gari mix with milk and sugar. All you need is to do just to add water. 6 months and above can take it. We also have the crystal soya beans gari mix with milk and sugar. All you need to do is just to add water from 6 months and above.
Ever since the CSIR took Crystal Agric Ventures through the process of making cassava flour and using it for bakery, Crystal's daily activities has greatly improved. With 16 product lines, the experience of breaking into new markets has been both challenging and fulfilling.
Typical day is always a busy day. So if it is one tractor of banche, we have to take it one by one with knife. The day we are peeling, we peel the whole day. And the one that is grating too, as we are peeling, is grating it. And because we bake the bread every day, even though some sections are peeling, some sections are grating, some sections too are mixing the bread to roll it. So we work from sometimes 6 a.m. till about 6 p.m.
At Crystal Agric Ventures, every day is definitely a busy day when you have an 80-acre cassava farm that needs to feed a cassava-based product line to meet an insatiable demand for gari, cassava flour, cassava bread, cassava pastries, and more.
Mr. Francis, I'm a farm manager. When I'm a phone, so me do a beer bunch and a process it and no man. Do some son of my sure say bunch no be free from home. Mad mamma ever dona ever born able to near the Abayajuma.
Aid weight loss, improve gut health, blood sugar and cholesterol levels are among the health benefits that makes the high starch resistant cassava flour an important alternative we need to consider.
Starch that could really be dangerous to the health, certain percentage has been removed, which when you use the little content of the starch that is remaining in the cassava flour for your pastries, it is not harmful. Even somebody that have diabetes can take the cassava flour. So it's highly nutritious. We're using it for bread, as let our bread gain good ground within Mampong, Kumasi, Accra, and the texture too is very nice.
So, if cassava flour can give you cassava bread and other pastries with low starch and cholesterol, then one would wonder how cassava is processed to derive cassava flour in the first place.
The process of turning cassava tuber into cassava flour is so easy and simple. One, you will put fresh cassava tuber from the farm. That very day, you peel it.
So when it comes, we pour them here. Yes, this is the peeler, but we use both the machine and also the traditional way. Yeah. Then after peeling, we pour it into the first basin for washing. Then after that, we transfer it into the second basin, ready for grating. So this is what we use for the cassava grating. We pour it here, immediately it grates it, and it is very smooth. Then from there, we bring it to the fermentation room. When we bring them into the fermentation room, we allow some of them to ferment. You know, some of the market people like gari that has been fermented. Some too, we do not let it ferment, like the fortified gari. We don't let it ferment. That same day, we just process it. The reason is because for the ones that we add coconut, margarine, and so if we allow it to ferment, it kills the taste. And also cassava flour, we don't let it ferment. So this is called the cassava pressing machine. We would just arrange it accordingly. Then we press it for the starch to come out. So it turns into a cake form. So because of that, we have to still send it back to the grating machine for it to be grated again so that we can get that powder form.
Then you spread it under solar dryer that the sun direct can come on it. Then you mill it in the evening. That is your cassava flour. After milling it, you sieve it. You see that there is no taste of ferment. That's it. You can use it to bake your bread, your cake. Some people to add it to their wheat flour, maybe 10%, 20%. Some too can do it raw. I add 70% of the cassava flour and 30% of the wheat. But there are some that you can do 100% cassava, like the cookies, like the chin-chin, the chips. You can do 100% cassava.
And if it is the gari, we will just spread it for 10 minutes. Then we can now fry it. For the additives, we will wait for it to be 70% cooked before we add the remaining things. If it's the coconut, if it's the soya beans, or if it's the margarine. And if it is the normal gari, we will fry it without adding anything to it.
Ghana needs to look at the importance of an alternative cassava flour usage because cassava grows well in Ghana due to favorable soil, climate, ability to withstand drought, and some diseases. The challenges with cultivating, processing, and using cassava and other cassava-derived products are minute and easily surmountable. This has contributed to the success story of Crystal Agricultural Ventures.
Initially, land was challenged. We couldn't get enough land to cultivate cassava. So we are buying from people, and sometimes when we couldn't get enough to buy, production ceases. That's why now we're able to get more land. Number two, the bad roads. Now that we even have the land to cultivate more, sometimes transporting it, you have to look for tractor to help you carry it from the farm to your factory. Sometimes the tractors are busy elsewhere. There is a challenge. We don't have our own tractor too for now. Another challenge is getting workers in mostly the peeling unit. Sitting down one place for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours peeling. They don't like that unit. They rather like the grating. When you are grating, you are moving here and there. When you are packaging too, you are moving in hand. But the peeling, you sit down and you see you are peeling. You pick the cassava one by one. And mostly too, when the students are on holidays, we always have plenty workers because they are casual. But as soon as the school reopens, sometimes we short about 2 or 3 workers, and those 2 or 3 workers also shortage have a long way to affect us. The other challenge is the harmattan period. Harmattan period is the ground is very hard, so you couldn't uproot more like normal period. But as soon as it's past the harmattan period, you can uproot more.
If we are looking at reducing our imports and increasing our exports so as to shore up inflation, then consuming cassava flour products, particularly cassava flour bread, is definitely the way Ghana must go.
Even as a medical practitioner, I still want Ghana and Ghanaians generally to know that cassava can be used for anything pastry. So that is why I devote my time to really practically go into cassava and its products. We're able to get 16 products from cassava. Even the starch extracts, the water itself, we don't throw it away. We let it settle, and when it is settled, it becomes like a cake. We spread it in the sun and we get it into powder, which can also be used for biscuits. We call it Crystal Cassava biscuit or daily biscuit, which is very sweet. So nothing in cassava that is wasted.
Every Ghanaian consumes bread or some pastry made from wheat flour. Cassava flour bread or pastry does not taste any different, and you would be doing your health a lot of good with cassava flour bread and pastries. Bakeries should look at the alternative cassava flour so as to improve on their profit margins, cut down on the cost of production, and give bread and other pastries the affordability it deserves to the consumer. Let's grow Ghana by eating Ghana, and subscribe to the Agro Media channel as we throw the spotlight on the agriculture in Ghana. Thank you for watching.